Good day, good day. Welcome back to another quick training from AlanChaney.com. Today I just want to discuss with you guys how to lease a property for assisted living, how to find, approach, negotiate, and partner with potential landlords in your market. So let's get right to it. Why leasing is smarter for first-time operators. It's less upfront capital, faster launch, flexibility to move, lower risk exposure. So avoid substantial investments of purchasing a property. Avoiding that in the beginning is paramount. If you could get your property, the number one hindrance for most people getting into assisted living, I mean, it's obvious, is having finding a property. And if you're waiting to purchase a property, it could be months going into years before you're actually ready. Because just everybody's in different places, and it takes so much, especially nowadays with the interest rates the way they are, to get a property that fits the criteria in a decent area. Um, get to the closing table, find it. No. Way before you find it, you got to, you got to get your documents together. You got to get pre-approved through a mortgage broker. So getting pre-approved, you got to have a certain credit score. You got to have all your tax documents in place. Um, and then once you pre-approve, now you can start working with a real estate agent. And then once you find a property, that might take no less than 99, say 60 to 90 days to find a property with your real estate agent. Because he gonna be sending you properties, you gonna give him the criteria, he gotta look and find them, go back and forth. Y'all gotta schedule time to go see each property, stuff like that. Then once you find a property, you gotta negotiate with the seller. Obviously, you don't want to pay the exact, you want to, you don't want to pay the exact. So I, we know that buying a property is much more complicated than leasing a property. At this age, we all know that, buying a property is one thing, leasing, a whole nother animal. Decent credit, some people, want, better credit nowadays. So 650 and up, first month's rent, first in the deposit. That's usually what landlords are asking for. So that's way less hassle, way less money you got to bring to the table. It gets you to the launch pad faster. You can launch your assisted living way quicker. Um, and if the location isn't ideal for you, say you may only, in that first year that you're operating, you don't feel great about it, you can get out of the lease. You can't get out of a house. You can't sell. You can sell it, but 9 times out of 10, if you just bought it, selling is going to be hard, and it's going to be like something you really don't want to do because you're not going to get the value or the money back that you put into it. Most likely, you're going to probably be selling at a loss. Um, and this gives you, and releasing gives you lower risk, obviously, because you can leave, and because you can, you're more flexible, and because you put in less money up front, so you just leverage your credit, a down payment, and the furnishings and the time it took you to get the license and whatever marketing and things that you did to get residents. And once you got some resident, once you set up to get residents, you obviously had to have caregivers. So that's what you exposed to from the risk point of view. Because and those are the regular risks. They're any business. So without having that overhead of that overhanging mortgage of a 30-year mortgage that you got to pay regardless if the business works or not. So yeah, obviously, for better or worse, while leasing for you, especially if you're a first time operator, leasing is the best way to go. Step one, know what you need. What makes a home good fit for assisted living? Before you begin your property search, you need clear criteria to evaluate potential homes. Not every property will be suitable for the specific needs of assisted living residents and operation. The right property will balance resident comfort, operational efficiency, and compliance with local regulations. Obviously, okay, you're gonna want. I'm suggesting a 4 bedroom so you can get at least 6 residents. Um, no HOAs, zoning already checked out, most all of the bedrooms are at least 100. The single bedroom's going to be 80 square feet. We're going to have private rooms. The double occupancy, the semi-private, they're going to have to be at least 120 square feet. Um, and you want to be in a great community, the best community that you can afford as far as when you go on the lease. Um, you want to make sure that if the property has rooms upstairs that you're able to put a chairlift in there eventually. It doesn't have to be in there for licensing, but eventually make sure you work that out with the landlord. If not, if all the rooms are on the first floor, that's a plus. So you want to be looking for a ranch style property with all the rooms on the first floor. You want a basement, so that could be a living quarters for yourself or for your caregivers in the beginning. So these are some of the things you want to be thinking about when you're looking for a property. When you could work with a real estate agent just as well as when you're leasing as if when you're buying. You're telling the neighborhoods that you want to be in, the zip codes you want to be, the county you want to pick a county. So like each county is different, and so the state has their laws, the cities may have their laws, but then the counties have their laws. So you want to go to where it's going to be, the least headaches, the least regulations. Some counties require sprinkler systems. Some counties don't. Some counties require use of occupancy. Some counties don't. So you're going to make sure you're targeting counties and locations and zones that are the best fit for you, the residents. So when you think about residents, you're thinking about the proximity to adult daycare centers, the YMCA's, hospitals, stuff like that, pharmacies. Are these places, within reasonable distance from the property? So malls, that a lot of seniors like to mall walk and visit malls, and you do outings and stuff like that, places and opportunities for outings. These type of things you want to make sure you have in place before you want to have this criteria given to your agent so they can be out there in the community looking for it, and you could be out there in the community looking for it. This is just step one, what you need to know before you start looking for a property. Ideal property criteria: 4 to 6 beds, 4 to 6 bedrooms, enough room to accommodate residents while maintaining proper resident to bathroom ratios and space for staff. Single story layout, obviously. We talked about that. ADA appliant or adaptable, meaning wheelchairs can fit through all the doors in the hallways, in the walkways, in the bedroom doors in the facility. Multiple bathrooms to serve residents comfortably and meet local code requirements for care facilities. Adequate parking. So you want to make sure you find somewhere that has a driveway, at least a decent sized driveway for, I would say, at least 4 cars for what we've been discussing, and a quiet, peaceful location. Area that offers tranquility for residents while maintaining proximity to medical facilities. So all the stuff we just covered. These are the ideal property criteria. Where to find the properties? Use both. Use both public listing. Hold on one second. I'm sorry about that. Are you serious? Oh, okay, good. Where to find properties? Use both public listings and private sourcing. Finding the perfect property requires multi-channel approach. Don't rely solely on public listings. Some of the best properties never make it to major platforms. Successful operators use a combination of online resources, boots on the ground research, and relationship-based networking to uncover hidden opportunities. Let's get into it. Search method one, online. Digital platforms to explore. Zillow. I use Redfin, Realtor.com. Craigslist still a good place. Facebook Marketplace. Direct contact with independent landlords. Facebook Marketplace is probably. I'm in communication with 2 landlords right now, like as we speak, that I met on Facebook Marketplace because they're posting their. Everybody's starting to use Facebook as a quick way to rent their properties out. So I'm just approaching landlords who have properties that fit the criteria in Facebook Marketplace. So if they I'll just put 4 bedrooms or more, 2 bedrooms or more, and Facebook Marketplace in the county that I'm looking at, and I'll just go through all the properties, and then if I see something that I like, I'll shoot the landlord a message, or whoever posted the ad a message. Hey, look, I'm an assisted living operator. We're looking to lease a property that your property seems to fit the criteria. Would you be open to working with a assisted living um operator to lease the property? That's it. Something similar to that. Um, Since you searches the filter, 4 bedroom, no HOA restrictions, and long-term lease availability. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned that we avoid HOAs like the plague. So avoid HOAs as much as possible. If you already have a property in HOA, don't lose hope. You can still get, your property license, even if the HOA says you can't, because of the Fair Housing Act. They can't deny you to, house residents because it's a residential low impact business. They can't deny it, but you have to fight the HOA board a lot of times to get that done, and you might have to hire a lawyer. But if you're starting your search out, just avoid them so you don't have to deal with that problem. Another way is driving for dollars. You can always find properties just from scouting target neighborhoods. Identify residential areas that match your demographic research. Look for neighborhoods with larger homes, ideally single story, and quiet areas with good access to medical facilities. Identify potential properties. Watch the for rent sign. Look for rent sign. Obviously, vacant homes. Or properties that appear underutilized. Take photos and note the addresses that meet basic criteria. And to find a property owner, you could just use different skip tracing apps. There's just put skip tracing, or check the you could put skip tracing services in Google, and it gives a whole bunch of them. And then you could do county tax records. Just look in the county tax records, and you'll be able to identify at least the property owner's name or the company's name. If it's in the company's name, you can kind of do like a search, and maybe you can find their email name, or search on if they have their name. You could put it in like a LinkedIn or Facebook, and probably find a person like that. But just skip tracing services usually find the information, or you just send a letter to the home or to the address. So if the property has a owner on it, they might have a second address in the property records because nobody's living there. It's a rental property, so they probably have their personal property address or their LLC information there. You could just send that address, or that address, that separate address, a letter of interest that you're interested in their property. If you can't find a number through a skip tracing service. Search method number three, network and referrals. Realtors obviously build relationships with agents who specialize in residential rentals. Explain your business model and set up alerts for suitable properties before they hit the market. Real estate investors. So every community in most major cities have what they call a RIA, Real Estate Investors Association. So you can always join the RIA, go to their monthly meetings, take your business cards, and just go and network with different investors, sometimes they let you speak and say, hey, get it to the front, in the beginning or in the end. They let you say, hey, if anybody has anything to share before we go, they let you come up front. And it may be, 10 to 50 to 100 people in these meetings. And I said they're organized by the Real Estate Investors Association. You can always use this place. And you just go up front, shake hands, meet people, and let them know that you're an operator, assisted living operator, and you're looking to rent a property to do this business. Then you explain some of the things we'll go into shortly. Same with probate attorneys. Connect with lawyers who handle estate matters. They often know about inherited properties where the family, the heirs may prefer passive income versus selling. So they can always say, "Hey, look, such and such mom just passed. They have a property this, and they'll be receiving via probate, or they got it willed to them. Maybe they'll be interested, and then they could put you together, and maybe you could throw the probate attorney a referral fee, and then online communities. And I feel like this is probably the most effective way, because you can just do it sitting on your couch. Join Facebook groups for landlords and property investors in your area. Post your specific needs and build relationships with property owners directly. Prepare your pitch. This is very important. You only get one shot at a first impression, so come correct. Property owners receive countless inquiries. Your approach needs to stand out while establishing credibility and addressing potential concerns up front. A professional, well-prepared pitch demonstrates you'll bring the same level of professionalism to operating an assisted living home on their property. So they're looking at you based and saying, okay, they're offering me, they present this opportunity, but let me see how they, present themselves here in this first interaction. First outreach script, phone or in person. Hey, I'm looking to lease a home for long-term residential care. I'm looking to lease a home for a long-term residential care home. It's for seniors, private pay, a very low wear and tear. This opening line accomplishes several critical objectives. It states your purpose clearly, addresses common concerns, and it states professional tone. States your purpose clearly, so immediately identifies your business intentions, avoiding any confusion about your rental needs. So you're not trying to go in there and pretend like you're going to rent it to live in there, nothing like that. You don't want to try to finesse your way in and try to backdoor them and say, "Oh, look, I got you get the lease," and then now you want to tell them. Be upfront, be clear about your intentions, address common concerns, preemptively mention private pay, financial stability, and low wear and tear, property preservation. These are two things just by saying that it's private pay, that the money's not going to be a problem, and it's low wear and tear. That means that you're going to preserve your property and not, it's low impact tenants. Opposed to a family with kids and stuff like that who are going to be messing up the carpet, writing on the walls, kicking holes in walls, you know, using the facilities a lot more. Um, a lot just a family is just a lot more wear and tear than seniors. And then sets professional tone, position you as a business operator rather than a typical residential tenant, distinguishing your proposal. If they ask, what's an assisted living? It's a quiet six-person care home, staff on site, no signage, no medical equipment, looks and feels like a regular home. This explanation focuses on normalizing low impact, emphasizing small scale operation, only six residents, constant supervision, staff always present, residential appearance, no commercial signage, non-medical nature, not a clinical setting. So you're not trying to start a hospital or a clinic in their house. This is what you want to get by to them so they can better understand it if they don't know what it is. So follow up with the email or text. Clear and concise. Keep your message under 200 words. Busy property owners appreciate direct communication that respects their time. Now you got to remember these are entrepreneurs and investors just like you. That they busy, they have families, but they're professionals, so they really have stuff. So when they're on their professional time, they want to be clear, focused, getting to the point, so they can make so they can respond either yes or no quickly, so they can make their decision. So don't drag it out. Don't send a whole long chat GPT a script full of nonsense. Make it clear, make it concise. Professional format. Use proper business email structure with greeting, well organized paragraphs, and professional signature with contact information. Highlight benefits. Clearly state how your business model benefits them. Guarantee rent, professional maintenance, and minimum property wear. Include specific, mention exact rent you're willing to pay, lease term length, desired 2 to 5 years, and request or for steps or property viewing for next steps or property viewing. That's what you want to have all in your email or text. And then I would even go as far as just sending over a quick slideshow or like a presentation similar to this, what they call a pitch deck, like a 10 slide pitch deck. Just is basically explaining what it is, an assisted living is, and what it is exactly you're doing. Something they could just kind of slide through. 10 slides at the most. Step four, offer real benefits to the landlord. Why they should lease to you. Property owners have options. To secure the ideal property, you need to position your assisted living business as a perfect tenant. Put yourself in the landlord's shoes. What concerns would you have about a business operating in your residential property? How can you adjust these preemptively? Landlord perks. So guaranteed rent. Unlike individual tenants who may face financial hardships, your business model provides consistent income through private pay residence and possibly long-term care insurance. So you're letting them know that the rent that you're paying, basically one tenant is going to pay the rent. It's going one tenant is going to be able to pay the rent and all the utilities. And if you got one tenant, one resident, we call them one resident is going to be able to pay that, and you letting them know that most of the time your tenants are private pay, so they're well off families, and a lot of times they have long term care insurance, so the families don't even have the burden. You're getting the rent is most of the time getting paid from a multi-billion-dollar insurance company like Mass Mutual or something like that. So guarantee rent, long-term lease, offer 2 to 5 lease with renewal options, providing stability and reduced vacancy periods that eat into landlord's profit. So when a landlord doesn't have a tenant, why the long-term lease is favorable to them? Because when they don't have a tenant, they have to pay that mortgage or whatever loans that they took out on that property. They have to keep up with the maintenance. A property just sits empty for too long, goes into disrepair just through natural, just through gravity. Like things start to, fall apart. Professional maintenance. Highlight your operational protocols that include regular maintenance, cleaning services, and prompt attention to property issues. Let them understand this property cannot go into disrepair under your lease because you're being held to a higher standard. It's not just because you want to do it. It's this, if you want to maintain your license, this property has to be in tip top condition. Every aspect of the property has to be working. Electricals, the AC, you got to have a certain temperatures throughout the year. The refrigerators, everything that the your appliances, everything has to be working at a certain level. So the property is going to be in excellent condition the entire time that you're in there operating. So and then reduce tenant issues. No loud parties, property damage, or payment delays commonly associated with standard resident. Staff supervise Staff supervision ensures property care. Like this is a professional environment. It's a quiet, low key, discreet environment, but it's a professional environment nonetheless. So they're not going to have to worry about property damage. Again, loud parties, payment delays, and stuff like that that come with typical residents, market residents like families and stuff like that, young professionals. So, and then another layer is you can also offer partnership options. Get creative with your deal structure. The landlord tenant relationship is just one possibility. By offering flexible partnership structures, you can access properties that might otherwise be unavailable and potentially reduce your upfront costs. Property owners with business acumen may see value in deeper involvement with your assisted living operation, especially when they understand the growing demographics and the market demand. Once they begin to see, once you make them and believe it or not, a lot of them already heard about it because a lot of these conversations are going on in the real estate community, as people look for different ways to monetize their properties and people just become aware of new information. So a lot of them might be aware of it, and those who aren't, once they do become aware of it and see the potential in turning the assisted living, their property into assisted living, they might be interested in more than just leasing the property. They might want to become partners. And these are some of the deal structure options you can think about. And then there's either other stuff beyond this. So just the lease only, tenant arrangement with fixed monthly rent and clearly defined responsibility. Simple structure with clear boundaries between business and property owner. That's the first basic structure. But then there's the lease plus profit share, a base rent plus percentage, typically 5 to 15% of monthly profits. Appeals to entrepreneur landlords interested in upside potential without operational involvement. So you can offer them, like I said, 5 to 15% of the profit share based on the rent, you know, at a certain lease rate. So they might give it to you. You might not have to offer them a more rent than usual. You could just say, hey, give me a discounted rate on the rent, or give me a solid rental rate, and then we can talk about profit sharing as we move forward, as the property becomes more as we become licensed and profitable. We can talk about bringing you in, 5 to 15% of the profits. Equity partnership: property owner becomes business partner with defined ownership stake. They contribute property use while you provide operational expense and management. I mean, operational expertise and management. So what happens is they bring the property to the table. So therefore, you're not paying anything. Their position, their equity in the business is they bringing the property. You're bringing the expertise and the business model. So then you guys are they're making money. They're getting a percentage of the equity in the business. So now they're partners in the business, and they take part in the profit sharing on the back end as you guys begin to make profit. So you can get into the property, get licensed, get furnished, without having to worry about the lease. So you're not paying anything up front. You're getting straight to the license, the furnishing, the licenses, and the operations. And then once profits come in, then you guys work out a structure to get him the profits, get him paid for the prop on the profit side instead of upfront out of pocket. And then there's a lease to own option. Arrangements allow a lease to own option arrange, and there's an arrangement allowing a portion of the rent to apply toward eventual purchase. Ideal for landlords considering exit strategy and operators planning for long-term expansion. So another option is a lease to own. So you can say, okay, if the lease is 2,000 a month, as a regular deal, there's a lease only structure. I'll give you 2,500, and we'll put that 500 towards towards the down payment, or towards the ownership, the eventual purchase price of the property, and you could build that into the lease. So if you put 500 to the side for the first 2 years, that's $12,000 that you have up towards own the owning of the property. So that's $12,000 that come off the purchase price when you're ready to purchase, like I said, in say 2 to 5 years. So these are just different options for deal structures when you're looking at approaching these real estate investors. They'll be they'll be a lot more open than you think if as long as you can explain it well a little better than I'm explaining it here, because I'm kind of rushing. But sit down, really understand some of these topics, and then you can explore different avenues, questions, and go, plug some of this stuff into, like, some AI, some chat GPT, and see what you get, and see what kind of ideas you come up with, and different structures you can come up with. And then also sit down with some investors, some landlords, and talk about some of this stuff, and see what type of options they will consider once you have a relationship, and they know that you're a serious business person looking to start an assisted living facility in their property. Profit sharing pitch script. You get your rent plus 5 to 15% of monthly profit. No involvement, just cash flow from a secure business. Why this works: creates win-win scenario where landlords benefit from your success. Positions positions agreements as passive income opportunity. May allow negotiation for lower base rent in exchange for property participation. Build psychological partnerships that can lead to greater flexibility. What to bring to the table: a one-page business summary, a sample lease or LOI, uh, quality quality assisted living home photos. So like you'll bring, like, show different pictures of what it's going to look like, what the potential of what a, just bring like a sample of what assisted living looks like. Licenses, support evidence, documentation showing your understanding of regulatory requirements, connection to industry consultants or related experience that demonstrates credibility. So these are just some of the things you want to think about when you bring it to the table, especially when you're talking about partnerships and stuff like that. But even if you just come in to, sit down and talk to them for a lease, and you can have it when you go to these RIAs. So you can, if you do have like side conversations, you can sit down and talk to these people as well. Tips for positioning yourself as a pro. Language and presentation matters. Use residential assisted living instead of facility to emphasize the home like environment. Highlight local agent demographic data to demonstrate market demand and long term viability. Mention your consultant team or industry connections to build credibility and reduce perceived risk. Dress professionally for meetings and bring organized printed materials. Have references ready for the property owners or industry professionals. Let's go get the property. Landlords are out there. Landlords are out there. The right property owners are waiting to be found. Use multiple search channels and be persistent in your outreach efforts. Deals are waiting. Creative deal structures can unlock opportunities that seem closed. Be flexible and think beyond traditional leasing agreements. Um, and three, your six-bed REL starts with one call. Every successful assisted living begins with the first property conversation. Your preparation and professionalism will set you apart. So yeah, this is it, man. These people, landlords want their properties filled. They want them long term. They want to be able to sleep at night. They don't want to have to worry about, is this person going to pay me on the first. They already coming up with these excuses that they only been there for 3 months. The wife lost her job. The husband, they're getting divorced now. All of that stuff is out the window. If you ever been a landlord, you know that these are the issues that you deal with when you sleeping, before you go to bed at night. As an operator, as an assisted living operator, you alleviate these stresses, and then also you create business opportunities and higher cash flow opportunities for these landlords. So don't hesitate to reach out to these people to with your business opportunity and make this thing a reality. You don't have to wait to become eligible to buy a home. Don't wait. The market is here. People are moving. Seniors need these places. There's not enough in the country. There's not enough beds. So this isn't just my state or your state. Across the country, there's not enough beds for the amount of seniors that need care. So as soon as you get set up. As soon as you get licensed and set up and ready to take residence, contact the right placement agencies, and your facility will be filled in three 30 days to 3 months. I'm telling you, you'll have your first one or two residents within 3 months. And then if you're doing like some really aggressive stuff, you could probably fill it up in 60 days, especially with 6 beds. So don't hesitate. Hopefully this information was helpful. Feel free to reach out at 443-906-3603. Peace.